in this whole building were here yesterday. Yesterday was pretty freaking wild, was it not? That was probably the most packed this area has been consistently for the entire day ever at a Spookala. So thank you guys all for that. Today's gonna be interesting because we have a bunch of one-on-ones, me with a great guest every single hour until the cosplay contest. If you wanna sign up for the cosplay contest, make sure you go over here to the merch table to the left of the stage. That's where you sign up. I think when they get to 30, they're gonna cut it off, and then at 4 o'clock, we're gonna have the cosplay contest. So, we're scared by different kinds of things, aren't we? Some people are scared by slashers. Some people are scared by, scorpions. I have a complete phobia of scorpions. I break out into a sweat. I don't like those things. Those things suck. But you know what? Right now, I'm gonna bring up something that has probably haunted you guys more than you realize. I'm gonna bring up the scariest Teletubby ever in the history of the world. Seriously though, this is a great guy right here. You guys are gonna have a lot of fun. Come on up here, Nick Kellington!
Wow. Here we go. Hello. Oh. No, is that too scary?
So she's saying nightmare fuel in the middle of Spookala after going to a slasher icon panel, and you're the nightmare fuel.
I take that as a compliment. In this room, definitely take it as a compliment.
So you might also know this guy from one of his most popular roles, which is Beetlejuice.
Yeah, well, not Beetlejuice.
Not Beetlejuice, but in Beetlejuice, sorry.
So I play Bob Shrinker in Beetlejuice.
I've seen his photo ops. His photo ops have been amazing because normally his costume has the little head here. So his photo ops, he opens up the costume and his face is sticking through. It's one of the best photo ops. I got a photo bomb one of his photo ops yesterday, so that was awesome.
Please come on down. I've got a photo op straight after, so please do.
If you guys haven't gotten into one of his photo ops, you might want to consider it right after we're done with this. So tell us how you got into doing character acting, because you're not in front of the camera. You are always normally in some kind of wild costume, doing some kind of wild thing. What made you decide that that was the thing that was going to work for you as an actor?
Well, when I first started performing, I was an actor on stage, but I always used puppets and masks. There's like an Italian art form called commedia dell'arte. So you know those beautiful leather masks that you get in Venice? Well, each of them is a different character, and each of them has their own stylized form of movement, which you kind of learn. So I performed that for a little while, and I went to circus school for a little while, and puppets. And then one day, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, just saw an advert in the paper saying, makers of Teletubbies looking for performers for a mystery new show. And I just got in line with thousands and thousands of other people, and I ended up getting the job. And it was all the same skills I had, using puppets, using masks, using dance, but then I had to learn how to use animatronics. So I operate the face of the creatures from the inside sometimes, how to use monitors. So sometimes I have a tiny monitor, a tiny TV screen the size of your thumbnail in front of one eye. And then I'm looking out of this eye at like kind of the real world. And through this eye, I'm seeing what the camera sees. A bit like, is it a Black Hawk helicopter pilots, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, that was, oh blimey, showing my age now. That was 20 years ago, I got that gig. And that show is still showing in the UK, and it's on every night at bedtime hour, and it helps all the children in the UK go to sleep.
So in America it's nightmare fuel, in UK it's the soothing last moments of the night before they go to bed.
Well, I always say I would truly love if someone would cast me as a truly terrifying kind of creature, because then I could help them get to sleep and give them nightmares when they are asleep. I'm joking with that. I'm joking.
No, it's not. No, it's not. So you say you're there with thousands and they selected you. What do you think was what made them say, this is the guy that does he's going to be better at this than these other 999 people. What do you think sets you apart?
Oh, wow. Well, that's not really a question for me. That was a question for the director. But I guess I'd done lots of like French clown training. So, do you know, like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton? So it's not a clown like art, like like the Terrifier. It's more clowning where you just kind of open up and show your soul and just try and be as naive as possible. And I think they saw something in, I'm obviously a very naive person. So they saw that in me, a gentle playfulness, I guess. And then, so they gave me that job, and then I kind of found out that I was really good at putting up with pain and claustrophobia. And so I decided to carry on in Creatures, because it's really sweaty, it's really hot, it's really claustrophobic, and I always liken it, because sometimes you're locked in there. You've got these heads locked onto your head, and your hands are all tied up, you can't get the costumes off. So I imagine describing it like, imagine you're in a straitjacket, then someone wraps you in a duvet, and then they chuck you into a sauna, and then they make you dance for 10 hours.
That sounds like a nightmare in and of itself. That's Spookala worthy right there.
That's kind of my working day. Sometimes they let me out for lunch.
So let's talk about Bob. So obviously that's one of the most iconic characters. Your costume is absolutely hilarious. Talk about getting that role. How did you go about becoming the Bob that we all know?
How did I become the Bob? Well, my kind of boss is Neil Scanlon, is the gentleman that makes all the creatures for the new Star Wars films. And I've worked with him since 2015 on a lot of the Star Wars films. And I got a call one night from his team saying, "Oh, Nick, we're doing Beetlejuice 2. We're going to do a test shoot for these. Do you remember the Shrinker characters from the first one? Oh, yeah, I remember. Well, there's going to be a few of them in this. And we don't know whether it's going to go practical or whether it's going to go to VFX. So we're just going to put together a test shoot. So will you come down to my workshop and we'll see what happens?" So I went down, and they cobbled together very quickly with gaff tape. Someone brought in their trousers from home. It was like a costume that you would put together in I don't know, a weekend for a little fancy dress party or something. So we cobbled together this costume, and with a little bob head. It didn't move or anything at that time. And they filmed me running up and down stairs, riding bicycles, pretending to do the office stuff, just doing really, really silly, goofy stuff. And they sent those tapes to Tim Burton. We didn't hear anything for a little while, and then I got another call from the office, kind of going, "Oh, congratulations, Nick. Tim loved the test shoot because it looked so goofy. It was like it made him laugh, and so now we're doing the Shrinkers. So thank you very much. We'd like you to work on the Shrinkers." And it's like, "Oh yeah, I would love that." So I started going down for costume fittings. And somewhere along the line in those costume fittings, someone said to me again, "Oh, congratulations, Nick. Your Shrinker, the lead Shrinker, he's got a name. He's one of the cast now." It's like, "You what?" And it just went on from there and just got better and better and better. So it was a really random kind of way of kind of stumbling kind of into Bob, as it were. But I guess that's how I got it. But people recommend me within the industry to do these kind of characters because they know what kind of stuff I do, and they trust that when I get onto a set, I'm not going to freak out and get claustrophobic or complain or need to go to the toilet or eat sometimes. So I'm a very I like to think I'm a very accommodating guy. I'm easy to get on with, but also when the pressure's on and the camera's rolling and sometimes you don't have any rehearsal, I bring the goods and everyone goes home, no one's been shouted out, and we're all happy.
So we're going to come back to the silly here in just a little bit, but you mentioned Star Wars, and every time I've interviewed someone from Star Wars, every person, whether they're a voice actor on the video game or there's someone that's on screen in one of the movies, they've all said the same thing. That every person that works on Star Wars, that's like the pinnacle to them. And they are like, we have to take this very seriously because we're now a part of one of the biggest families, one of the biggest franchises, universes in movie history. How did you feel when you got cast in Star Wars? Did you feel the same thing? Did you have that same kind of vibe with those around you?
Oh yes, very much. I mean, I don't know if you can see from there, but I'm a big Star Wars fan myself. So I kind of grew up in the 80s, kind of again showing my age, with the originals. And for us, I didn't even have a VHS player in the 80s. So the only time I got to see Star Wars was like Christmas holidays, Easter holidays, bank holidays. Do you have that Labor Days?
Yeah.
So it was always reminded me of being at home with the family, and when it was on TV. So it has that warm feeling that lots of people get from it. So when I got the chance to actually be in Star Wars, you literally, you can't, as a fan, you kind of go, they don't have to pay me, but I'm glad they do. And it's like, I remember my first day on set as Bistan. We were filming on Yavin 4, which was like a giant building, even bigger than this building, height-wise, where they built the Yavin 4 airbase. And I'm in my Bistan costume, and the first thing I do is I walk on set, and there's a giant X-Wing in front of me, like a real-life X-Wing. And, you know, as one of the performers, you're kind of supposed to play it cool a little bit. But because I was done up as Bistan in this space monkey suit, I just ran up to it. I was just putting my hands on it, kind of going, it's real, it's real. And if I'd not been dressed as an alien then, I think someone would have come up and had a word with me, kind of going, you're not supposed to do this, you know, play it cool. But because I was dressed as Bistan and I looked like this crazy monkey, I thought, just let the monkey have his moment. And so, yeah, you can get away with a bit of stuff like that when you're dressed as an alien. And I remember being stood at the monitors watching. There's one shot where Jyn Erso is walking across Yavin 4 and all the X-Wings are being fueled up and getting ready to fly and everything. And I wasn't in that scene, but I was stood at the side of the stage watching on a monitor. And I was stood there with Brian Herring and Dave Chapman, who between them kind of puppeteer BB-8. And we were all kind of stood at the monitors watching the action. And they turned around to me and went, because they'd already had a year of this because they'd done The Force Awakens. This was the second year, and it was new to me. And they turned around to me and went, you've got that look. And I go, what look? It's good. You're grinning like an idiot. And they were right, because I was just stood there beaming from ear to ear. They're going, that was us last year. And it's true, anyone that comes on for their first project, you just can't believe that you're there. And it's like walking through a living dream, because everything that they've created is so beautiful and it strikes such a chord in your memory because it looks exactly like the original films. You're in the Star Wars world and it's you feel incredibly lucky. I mean, with all of this, with Beetlejuice, with everything, you're always lucky if you're working as an actor anyway. But to be working on projects that you actually love and things that you've grown up with, you feel a responsibility that you want to hopefully push the boat forward, be respectful, hopefully find something new. But at the end of the day, just make people smile and actually kind of, like, you know, my daughter growing up, she's 8, going to be 9 soon. So she's discovering all this for the first time. So I feel like I'm creating stuff for her, like what I had back in the 80s. So there's a responsibility there. You want it to be good for them, you know?
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to go back to what we normally do at Spookala, which is we have the open mic here. Yesterday, we had us out there in the audience walking around with the mics because the crowds were just too big to be able to have a line. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys have anything that you want to ask this very large and intimidating man. Don't worry, he... Come on up, excellent, come on up. We're gonna get you to ask the question. Now remember, for the mic out there, make sure you bend it down so that way you can be heard, and make sure you come all the way up on the mic and make sure it's pointed at your mouth so that way we can hear you up here. So we're gonna have you guys ask some questions, and then I've got a few more things to talk about as long as you guys don't cover them. So at the mic, what's your name? Is the fan mic on? Is the audience mic on? I think they have it muted in the back. Say test. Okay, it's good now. So switch it back. Test. Oh, I guess it doesn't work if I do it up here. There we go.
My name is Barbara.
And Barbara is an expert question asker.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, my question is, two movies, so Beetlejuice, not a franchise because there's only two movies, but if there is another franchise that you would like to be a part of besides Star Wars, I mean, you can't get bigger than that, but another, I'm thinking we start a franchise like the Minions did, and it's a Bob.
A Bob franchise?
Yes.
Just call it Bob?
Well, no, Bob Shrinker.
Bob Shrinker, okay.
Yeah, if they can have their own franchise, why can't Bob Shrinker?
Oh, believe me, I would love that. And I'm sure the writers would too, because most of the dialogue would be... So, yeah.
But you could do a lot with that.
I would love that, I mean, who knows if Tim would want that, because I think he's very, I think the Shrinkers are very dear to Tim. I think he cares about all of his creations so much that if there was an idea good enough that warranted them having their own world, Tim might go for it, but it would have to be a very good idea because he just cares so much about all of his characters.
I got that, but is there another franchise that you would like to be a part of?
One that exists already?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know really. Other than I would, when I was Skekmal in Dark Crystal, I really enjoyed being evil. So after doing all of the Teletubbies and doing lots of big hugs and kisses, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week for 7 months, I'd really like to do something truly, truly terrifying, just for the variety. And if there would be a new kind of idea for that, like I say, it's something that would give people nightmares.
I could see him being in a live-action Wallace and Gromit.
That would be cool. That would be very, very cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Am I Wallace or Gromit? What are you saying?
I think you could be both. All right, thanks a lot, Barbara. All right, next up.
Thank you, Barbara.
Next up, what's your name?
Isabel.
Isabel, what is your question?
Is there another Tim Burton movie that you would like to be in? If so, what would it be?
Is there another Tim Burton movie you'd like to be in? If so, what movie?
Oh, wow. I mean, if I'd like to have been in any of the Tim Burtons that I've watched, it would be Edward Scissorhands, because it's such a beautiful movie. It's so cool and funny anyway, but the spirit behind that one, the beauty of Edward and his relationships with the world, is so gorgeous that even to have had a tiny moment in that world would have meant a lot to me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, hey, let's make sure we come all the way up on the mic. You can bend it up so it's right in your face.
My name is Matthew, and
Good name.
and I was wondering, as a big Star Wars fan myself, I was just curious what your favorite. It could be in the original movies or the TV series. Like, what's your favorite character in the Star Wars franchise?
Oh, my favorite character.
That's not your own.
Yeah, not your own.
Oh, I've got a really big thing for Rhys Yees. He's got the 3 eyes, and he's in Jabba's palace, and he goes, and he dances like that. I've just always liked him, and I remember having his toy as a child, and just the size of his hands and his mitts and his cool kind of look. I've just always had a thing for him, not in a kinky way, obviously, but yeah. So I mean, I mean, it's all about the aliens, really, for me, because Return of the Jedi was the first one that I saw at the cinema. My elder brother took me to see it at the cinema at an age-appropriate time because I'm very old. So I loved the Ewoks. I loved all of the aliens in Jabba's palace and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, if you're making me pick one, Reese's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good stuff. All right, next up, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Jennifer.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hey, I just want to thank you for being part of the fandom. And then I have more of a technical question. I cosplay the second sister, and then I belong to the Mandalorian Mercs. So what would you recommend as the best pooling system for underneath that type of cosplay?
Okay, so technically and professionally, sometimes we have cool suits, and I think you can buy them like just off the shelf here now. Now they're very good. It's a vest, a waistcoat you'd call it, and it's got piping around it, and then it has an in and an out nozzle. And what they do is they have a cooler box full of ice with iced water. And when you get too hot, they plug you in and basically pump ice cold water all the way around your vest. And then that takes the heat away from your kidneys and your vital parts. Not very practical because even though it works brilliantly on a movie set, you have to have this kind of cooler box with a battery and a pump and be plugged into it. So that's not brilliant. Another thing that they do is, which we had in Bistan, is on the back of his jumpsuit, he had a little fan port. And that was actually a real fan port. The motor, the fan in it, was a little fan from a computer. So it's quiet, so it wouldn't interfere with with them taking dialogue with sound. But that was attached to a small battery, and it was constantly going, and it draws air in, and then there's a tube which just comes to here, and so it's just gently blowing air from the outside into your face constantly. And that is a much more practical option. It won't necessarily cool you down, but what it will do is it'll stop the CO2 build-up and the heat build-up in the helmet, and sometimes that's more of a problem than a heat build-up in the suit. Does that help?
Yes, because Florida gets really hot, and when you wear those Mando suits,
Yeah.
you die.
And as we know, the Mandos aren't allowed to take their helmet off.
Right.
So that's what I would recommend. Build a little computer fan which has a bit of plastic tubing that runs round up to your face and just gently pumps fresh air from outside into your face.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Had a guy a while back that actually did top hats like that. Put the computer fan in the top of the hat because it's Florida and these things get pretty steamy. So yeah, good idea. All right, next up, what's your name? Allie, what is your question?
Okay, so this is not something I ever expected to bring up, but in the Night Garden, which was the show you were talking about earlier, were those like vehicles life-size, or did you shoot them smaller, and same thing with the balloons?
Okay, I didn't know that you people saw in the Night Garden over here. So if you don't know, there's these kind of like children's toys, like a train that runs around, a big hot air balloon that breaks wind all the time. And there's a confusing thing in the show that sometimes like we're bigger than the vehicle, and sometimes we ride inside the vehicle. And so we changed perspective the whole time, and the logic was that children, like 18 months old, don't care about perspective. They just care about fun, so it doesn't have to make sense. So there were little models that they would film, and then we'd be on a massive blue screen with life-size kind of blue screen versions of those models running around on them. Or there were remote control, there's a train called the Ninky Nonk. Okay, so the Ninky Nonk train is the size of this table. And that runs around on an RC unit. Also, they built full-size carriages of every single carriage on the Ninky Nonk, big enough for us costume performers. And in costume, I'm probably about 7 foot tall, to big enough for us to be able to get in and kind of ride like a real train, like a proper ride. So they had lots of different versions, all different scales, and they used them all without any respect for the laws of physics and reality. So they're all real, they're all practical, they're all different sizes. And then they just edit it together into however they want. So, does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good.
What's your name?
Isaiah.
Isaiah, what's your question for?
So, this is kind of a touchy subject, the Star Wars community. How do you feel about Acolyte and the fact that it got canceled?
I think it's a bit of a shame, because I really enjoyed it. And forgive me, I've forgotten his name. The character that they introduced as the Sith character in that. I was really interested to see where his character was going to go. So, for me, I thought it was a bit of a shame. But I understand that, it's not for everyone, I think too often we think that all of these things are created for everyone. And I think TV, the whole of TV isn't created for everyone. We pick and choose the things that we like. A bit like a recipe, like a menu in a restaurant. You're not expected to like everything. So, I don't know, I enjoyed it and I thought it was a bit of a shame. But that's totally my personal thing. And I totally respect other people that are happy that it's not coming back. And maybe they can concentrate on something else for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they had some of the best lightsaber battles since Revenge of the Sith, probably.
Oh, the lightsaber work in that was gorgeous. Hey, it is what it is, and let's just all try and kind of move on and hope that the next thing that they create is good again, for everyone or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like life, isn't it? You just keep trying. You just keep trying something different, and not everything succeeds. But then you just try again, and that's like everything, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
All right.
Thank you so much.
I hope that helps.
Oh, 100%.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. All right, next up, how you doing?
I'm good. This is Nico.
What's up, Nico?
I'm sorry if this was brought up already, but
If it was, we're going to pretend like it wasn't. It's the very first time it's ever been brought up. What's up?
I got here a little late, but you were in a movie with Michael Keaton, Catherine O'Hara, Jenna Ortega, I can't remember her name, Winona Ryder. How does it make you feel that the fans kind of gravitated to Bob, Justice for Bob? There's such a big movie, but everybody loved your character at the end of it.
I feel very, very lucky and very, very privileged that apparently the fans have taken to Bob really well. I mean, I always thought he was cute. And when you looked at the maquette, and I have to say, my partner in crime, Neil Sterenberg, is the puppeteer who, with an RC unit, puppeteers the face of Bob for 99% of the movie. So between the two of us, we created Bob. Unfortunately, I get all of the limelight because my name is on the credit. But I do have to do a massive thank you and a massive shout out to my partner in crime, because his work was beautiful. So how do I feel about people really? I just feel lucky. I just feel lucky, especially when you consider all the names that you mentioned, how amazing they are, and their history, their lives in popular culture, in cinema for the last 30 years. So to be in a movie that has hopefully been received well with them, and people like the little thing that I added to it, it's such a privilege. I am truly lucky, and there's not a day when I don't forget that. Do you know what I mean? I know how fortunate I am. Because you know what, I have to still do the everyday stuff, like go to the shops, go to the gas station or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I have a normal life too. And I know that every so often when things are a bit rubbish, because let's face it, things can be a bit rubbish for all of us at every time, I just kind of go, hold on, you're in Beetlejuice, you're Bob. You've had these amazing experiences. How lucky are you? And it just makes me, it just lifts me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I feel lucky.
I love the movie, so very, very nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for coming up early and saying hi again.
And I can tell you right now, that one's definitely going on a podcast, because Nico's got a podcast. He's got a show, so that question is definitely going on his show, right, Nico? Hey, how you doing?
Hi, I'm Haley. My question is, what inspired you to do voice acting and all this?
So Haley, take the mic and just bend it down just slightly, just at the top. Just grab it. There you go. So say it again.
What is your inspiration on doing all of this movie acting?
What was your inspiration for doing all this kind of acting that you do?
I guess I've always been a little bit hyperactive, and I've always liked kind of just...
You don't say!
I've always kind of like jumping around, just running, climbing, kind of, going to circus school, stuff like that. Physical stuff, physical theatre, physical comedy has always appealed to me more than, and I think if I'm honest, I've never really liked the sound of my own voice. So when I became a performer, and kind of being a dancer, being a bit of circus skills, a bit of clowning, it just all felt natural to me. Puppets, kind of creatures, it just all felt like home. So, do you know what I mean? The only thing that they use my voice for is Teletubbies. So, do you know what I mean? That's not gonna. I'm not a heartthrob in that sense.
Hiya.
Could you guys imagine him and Howie Mandel up here doing their voices at the same time? That'd be amazing.
So it's just always been a natural fit for me, this style of performance. And I always think if you discover something that you're particularly good at, that you enjoy, it's like a little superpower. If you're good at it and you enjoy it, then that's what you should follow. Do you know what I mean? And you should stretch yourself in different ways, obviously, so that you grow as a person. But just be honest with yourself as to what you can actually give to the world, and listen to other people. If they kind of go, oh, we really like this thing about you because it makes us happy, and we'd like to work with you and create things, and it all feels positive. Just listen to that inner voice and kind of go, you know what? This little thing that I'm good at. That's my superpower, and we've all got our own little superpower. You just have to find it, or be given the opportunity to find it. You know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so next, I guess that was just moral support. Okay, so I've got a couple more questions for you before we wrap this up. So, we talked a little bit about the Dark Crystal, but we want to talk a little more about that one. So, I was talking with my good friend, who we'll meet up here in just a little bit, the show photographer, and he said you told him a great story about your costume, that your costume may not have been designed for someone of your specific stature. So why don't you share that with us about how you made a costume that was designed for someone else to work for someone at your size?
Well, I was very lucky with this one, because the hunter, or Skekmal, who I'm in the costume in the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, originally it wasn't my gig. Originally they designed the costume for a stunt man who was probably like 6 foot, 6'5" or something like that. I'm 5'4". So Brian and Wendy Frood, the artist that designed all the stuff for the Dark Crystal, all of it based on all his drawings. So him and Wendy, and their son Toby, who is also the baby in Labyrinth, they all worked on the new Dark Crystal, doing the designs. Toby made some of the armor and stuff. He was in the workshop. But when they saw the 6'5" tall stuntman in the Skekmal costume, they said, it doesn't look like a Skeksis. He looks too strong. He looks like an action man in a Skeksis costume. So they weren't quite happy with that. So they asked around some of the crew as to who they might like to see to give it a try. And my name was thrown into the hat. Thank you very much. Now, obviously, being a lot shorter they put me in the same costume. And now the costume, but they didn't change any of the dimensions of the costume. And so the costume's made of hard plastic. And so, but where its wrist is and where my shoulder is that's where the openings are. So it was like a coiled spring on every single limb and also all the way down my spine. So it's constantly fighting against me. And what it did was it drew me into this shape. And as soon as Wendy and Brian saw me kind of like bent over and contorted into this horrible shape, they went, that's a skeksis. That's a skeksis. And then they went, now, can you run around and do sword fights and do all stuff like that in that? And I went, to be honest, I don't know, but I'll try. Which is my motto for life, to be honest. So we did a little screen test of me just moving around in this really painful costume. It was just digging in and cutting into me, and I was getting sores everywhere. And they loved it. They went, that looks like a hunting skeksis. So that I ended up getting that job. But the costume was beautiful. But it took me an hour to get dressed into it, and about 40 minutes to get out of it. So every time I needed to go to the bathroom, they were losing like an hour 40, 2 hours maybe of filming time. So they ended up saying to me, Nick, would you mind not going to the toilet? I was like, what, all day? I was like, yeah. So I kind of agreed to it, again, because, there's a job to do, let's get on with it, let's do this. So they only let me out for 1 hour at lunchtime. The rest of the time, I was in this really painful, contorted costume. And it was, even when you just sat down, it was bending you into shapes, and it was like really painful. And I just didn't drink any water all day. And they basically just fed me Haribo all day to keep my energy going. And then at lunchtime, I'd down a load of water, and then it'd be back into the costume for another 5 hours.
That sounds delightful.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
All right, so before we wrap this up, everything you've talked about is you being in a costume, you being in something that has got you completely hidden. Is there any part of you that's like, you know what? I wish I could just be an action hero. I want to be on camera, my face shown. I want to go out there and just be a badass on camera. Is there any part of you that would like to experience that side of the acting world?
Yeah, I would love to. And sometimes the directors give me a little cameo. Sometimes, not a big part, but I get to be me. I get to be a human for once. That's a real treat when I'm a human. But you know what? I love what I do so much. And let's face it, humans are weird. Sometimes I don't understand humans. Whereas monsters, creatures, and aliens, I kind of get where they're coming from. So I'm kind of happy. Obviously, if someone offered me a part, I wouldn't say no. But I'm happy with my lot. I love my life, and I love creating all these wonderful things. So, hey, don't rock the boat. Just kind of, keep rolling the dice and keep hoping it turns out okay.
All right, so how much longer are you going to be here today? Sometimes on Sundays, sometimes the celebs have to leave earlier. Are you going to be here through the end of the day, or do you have to
yeah, I'm here all day. I'm not flying until the morning, and I'm having such a lovely time. I have to say, by the way, this is my first trip to the States ever.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much. And everyone has been so loving and so kind and so welcoming. And the guys here at Spookala have put on an amazing show and made me feel really special. So I'm loving it. So I'm staying for the rest of the day. And even if you just want to come up and just say hi and have a little chat, that's totally cool. I love it. I absolutely love it. So thank you all for coming. Because without you guys, without these guys, it's all about fun, isn't it? And fun and love.
Is this guy like, I said, if you got him and BD Wong up here on the stage, they'd have like a polite off? Because they're both like the most polite people you've ever met. Is this guy awesome or what? All right, so before we wrap this up, you know that there's something we have to do, right? That's right, we have to try to summon the show photographer to take a picture. So on the count of 3, we all have to chant his name. His name is Corey. So in your scariest, creepiest voice, or in a Teletubby voice. What's that? Corey. So Corey, in your best Teletubby voice, 1, 2, 3.
Is that the scary thing you were talking about?
That was incredible. Oh my goodness, I'm literally crying. So you don't hear a guy say this. I think my mascara is about to run. Oh my goodness, that was incredible. All right, so when this is done, you and I are going to walk around the front of this table and we're going to get a picture with everybody in the crowd for the social media. So before we do that, let's give a huge round of applause and a thank you from Spookala to the one and only